The Aztecs were a native group from Mexico. They lived and survived in a unique way. The Aztecs were once a growing tribe, but they were destroyed. Before their fall, they were a very strong empire that was able to conquer anything that stood in its way.
Aztec astronomy was highly advanced and deeply connected to their religion, calendar system, and agricultural practices. The Aztec closely observed the movements of the sun, moon, planets, and stars, and they believed the celestial bodies were linked to the gods and the fate of the world. They used two main calendar systems. The Tuna Puwali, a 260-day ritual calendar, was used for religious and ceremonial purposes. It was divided into 20 periods of 13 days each, and each day had spiritual significance tied to deities and natural forces. The next is the Shupawali, a 365-day solar calendar, was used for tracking the seasons, agriculture, and festival. It was divided into 18 months of 20 days, with an extra 5, which is empty or unlucky days at the end of the year. The sun was especially important in Aztec cosmology. They believed the universe was in its fifth era, or sun, and that the sun god, Huitzilopochtli, needed nourishment through human sacrifice to continue his journey across the sky. Eclipses and other celestial events were interpreted as omens or signs from the gods. Aztec priests, known as Matinae, were responsible for studying the skies and maintaining the calendars. Their observation allowed them to predict solar and lunar events, determine the best time for planting and harvesting, and guide religious rituals.
The Aztec number system was a vigesimal system, meaning it was based on the number 20. This was different from the decimal system that we use today. It was simple yet effective and used symbols to represent numbers for trade, tribute, astronomy, and the calendar records. The number 1 to 19 were represented by dots. 20 was represented by flag, banner symbols. 400 was represented by a feather. 8,000 was represented by an incense bag or pouch. Aztecs combined these symbols to represent larger numbers. For example, they arranged symbols vertically, with the largest value at the bottom, increasing upward. Pouch at the bottom, then feathers, then flags, and dots on the top. However, the Aztecs did not have a symbol for zero, which made their system less flexible for some kinds of calculations compared to the Maya. It was written and visual system, not for written equations or algebra. The Aztecs number symbol was practically, logically, and adapted to meet the administrative and ceremonial needs of powerful empire.
Aztec agriculture was highly advanced and essential to supporting their large and growing population. The Aztecs farmed in a region with limited arable land, so they developed ingenious techniques to maximize food production, especially the famous Chinampa system. Chinampas, often called floating gardens, were man-made islands built in shallow lake areas by layering mud, lake sediment, and plant material. These plots were incredibly fertile and allowed farmers to grow crops year-round. Canals between Chinampas also made transportation of goods and water efficient. In addition to Chinampas, the Aztecs practiced terrace farming in hilly areas, using stone walls to create flat platforms that prevented soil erosion and managed water runoff. They also used irrigation systems like canals and dikes to control water flow during dry or rainy seasons, showing a strong understanding of hydrology and engineering. The main crops grown by the Aztecs include maize, corn, which was the staple food, along with beans, squash, chili peppers, tomatoes, avocados, and amaranth. These crops formed a balanced diet and could be preserved or processed in different ways. They also cultivated cacao, used to make chocolate, which was so valuable it served as currency.
These beans from which chocolate is derived were not only valued commodity but also a medium of exchange for various goods and services. Here's how cacao beans function as currency. Purchasing power, cacao beans could be used to buy a variety of items, including food like turkey, hens, eggs, and avocados, as well as service like labor and even slaves. Tax payments, the Aztecs also used cacao beans to pay taxes or tribute to their rulers. Trade, cacao beans facilitated trade, allowing for the exchange of goods between different regions and social classes. Social status, while anyone could use cacao as currency, consuming chocolate beverage made from the beans was often reserved for the elite, including nobles, warriors, and high-ranking individuals. Counterfeiting, the high value of cacao beans lead to the practice of counterfeiting, with some individuals creating fake beans by filling them with substitutes like rocks or sands. Cultural significance, cacao was not just a form of currency but also held cultural and religious significance, often used in ceremonies and rituals. Agriculture was deeply connected to Aztec religion. They believed their gods provided them with crops, and many farming practices were tied to the ceremonies and offerings to the gods. Talok was worshipped as the rain deity, and rituals were held to ensure good harvest.
Aztec's medicine was a blend of practical herbal knowledge and spiritual healing, rooted in both observation and religious belief. The Aztecs believed that health was influenced by the balance between natural elements and the will of the gods. Therefore, healing involved both physical treatments and ritual practices. Aztecs healers known as Tisitil were highly respected specialists. Some were herbalists, others were surgeons, midwives, or spiritual healers. They used an extensive pharmacopoeia of medicinal plants, many of which are still used in traditional medicine today. Illnesses were often believed to be caused by offending the gods or evil spirits, so healing could involve offering chants and rituals to restore spiritual balance. Common remedies include herbs for treating fevers, wounds, stomach ache, and infection. For example, chili peppers were used to relieve pain, congestion, cacao for fatigue, aloe for bone, and willow bark for contains a compound similar to aspirin for pain relief. Herbal treatments were often paired with prayers, chant, or offering, as many illnesses were believed to have spiritual causes. Healers might use incense, ritual baths, or amulets in combination with plant remedies. In addition to herbal remedies, Aztecs medicine include massage, steam baths, and bloodletting for purify the body. The tamacal type of sweet lodge was used for detoxification and healing, especially for the sick and women after childbirth. Surgical procedures were performed for wounds, bone setting, and even dental work, using sharp obsidian blade and remarkable precision.
Ritual healing also played a vital role in Aztec medicine because the Aztecs believed that many illnesses were caused not just by physical factors but by supernatural or spiritual balances. This could be the result of offending the gods, being cursed by an enemy, or losing one's soul or tonali due to fear, trauma, or bad dreams. As a result, healing was not only physical, it also had to restore harmony between the body, the soul, and the gods. Aztecs believed that the body was linked to divine forces and health was maintained when the energies of the universe, such as the sun, moon, and gods, were in balance. Illness would come from divine punishment for disrupting a god, witchcraft or sorcery which another person caused is spiritual harm, loss of vital forces like the tonali, spiritual energy linked to the sun and head, or ihiyot, the whole, associated with breath and emotions. Bad omens such as being born on an unlucky day on the spiritual calendar. Healing could not be separated from Aztec religious practice. Many temples have designated spaces for spiritual cleansing and healing. Gods associated with healing included Tlaloc, god of rain and illnesses related to water; Siptotec, god of renewal and skin disease; Quetzalcoatl, associated with the wind and knowledge, including medical wisdom. Aztec spiritual healing shows a holistic view of health where body, mind, and soul and environment were all interconnected. Treating illness required restoring balance, not just applying remedies. This spiritual medical tradition, rooted in indigenous worldwide, still influences Mexican folk healing today.
The fall of the Aztec Empire occurred in the early 16th century and was primarily the result of the Spanish conquest led by Hernan Cortes, combined with internal unrest and devastating disease. This major historical event happened between 1519 and 1521, marking the end of one of the most powerful civilizations in Mesoamerica. The fall of the Aztec Empire was caused by a combination of foreign invasion, native alliances against them, internal weaknesses, and the deadly impact of European diseases. It was a turning point in history that reshaped the cultural and political landscape of the Americas forever.